Hey everybody, welcome to Composition 1. I'm your instructor, Tiffany Lester-Trosher. You can call me Miss Tiffany or Miss LT. I wanted to provide a video um, right from the beginning that helps you understand how this course is laid out and how to best work your way through all of the material. If you're watching this video, that means that you have already come to our course homepage and hopefully read my announcements, and then clicked on the content tab up at the top of the page, and that brought you into the content for our class. When you got to the content area, you saw the tabs listed down the left-hand side of the screen. The first one was Getting Started. That's the one we're in right now. And then you also will see week 1 module all the way down to the week 11 module. So right now we're in the Getting Started tab. And in that section, there was a sub-tab called Meet the Instructor. Gives you a little bit of information about me, as well as my office hours and contact information. Then there was a sub-tab on the course intro, which just gives a little overview of what this class is all about, the kinds of things we'll be working on throughout the quarter. And then there's this video. And then after this video, there's a sub-tab on the attendance and weekly deadlines. If this is the first online course that you've taken, I highly suggest watching that video and reading over the information. It explains everything about how we track attendance and what you need to do to make sure that you're counted present each week. Very useful information. And then the final sub-tab in the Getting Started section is the course syllabus. There will be a video in the week 1 module that reviews the syllabus, but it is there in this Getting Started section if you ever need to refer back to the syllabus. But today, I want to focus on the rest of the weekly modules, because that's where all of the material is that we're going to be going over throughout the quarter. That's where your exercises and assignments are, everything you need to do for this class, right? So I know it looks overwhelming if you start getting into each weekly module, or if you've looked in the assignments tool to see the list of all the assignments for the quarter. One thing I want to make sure you guys understand is that we are required by our accrediting body, ABHES, to have a certain number of contact hours for each particular class and a certain number of out-of-class work hours for each particular class. So for Comp 1, it is a 40 contact hour class. So throughout the quarter, you should have made contact with your instructor for a total of 40 hours. So we break that up into 10 weeks, 4 hours each week. When you are taking a class on campus, those contact hours come from being in the classroom each week for class. And then there's the 80 hours of outside classwork. So these are your homework assignments and your projects and things like that that you work on in all of your classes. So for this class, it is 80 hours, again, spread out over 10 weeks. That's 8 hours a week. So that comes down to 4 hours of in-class work each week and 8 hours of out-of-class work each week. When you're taking the class on campus, again, those first 4 hours come from just showing up every week at the designated day and time. And then you have your homework. Then you know the homework's coming, you're expecting it. Sometimes it's less than 8 hours for that week. Sometimes it might be a little more than 8 hours for that week. But you know it's coming, and it's a little easier to deal with because those first 4 hours took place in the classroom. But this is an online course, so you are responsible for going through the full 12 hours of material on your own. And that can be very overwhelming. But just keep in mind that it is something that's required of us from ABHES. They are our accrediting body, and they're the ones who look at our programs and say, yes, you are offering quality education to these students. The degrees that you're granting them are valid and worthy. So it's very important that we adhere to their guidelines. So that's the reason for the amount of work in this course. It doesn't make it any easier to get through it, though, knowing why. So I'd like to go ahead and go through the first weekly module, touch a little bit on the second one, and give you guys a feel for how I lay out the class and how to approach the class so that you'll be more successful. So when you click on the week 1 module, for instance, you're going to see all of these sub-tabs appear underneath it, starting with, for week 1, the syllabus review, and going all the way down to the week 1 homework assignments. So here's how you should think of those sub-tabs. Everything from the agenda for each week all the way down to the homework assignments. So for instance, for week 1, everything from the week 1 agenda all the way down to the writing process getting started. Everything in those sections is the 4 hours of in-class work. If we were taking this class on campus, that's the material I would cover in the classroom. Any of the exercises, the graded items within those sections, those are things that I would give you during class to complete during class. Then the homework assignments tab, week 1 homework assignments, that contains the roughly 8 hours of out-of-class work that is expected of you for that week. So if you can think of the weekly modules in that manner, it can kind of help you understand how all of the material fits together and how the homework assignments relate to the material in the weekly module. If you think of it like an on-campus class, it'll make more sense. Everything that is in the weekly module, everything before the homework tab, that's what we cover in class. Everything in the homework tab is your homework, the out-of-class work, right? So I try to make it a little more manageable for you in a couple of ways. The first way that I try to make that amount of work a little easier for you is most of the assignments that you do for this class are very low risk, meaning I grade them based more on effort than correctness. So that's helpful. At least you're not stressing out about getting every single thing perfectly correct to get the best grade possible on every single assignment. Save that time and energy for the essays that you write for this class, because those are the items that are graded formally. All the other assignments, I'm grading based on effort. So just do your best and you'll get the full points for it. So that's one way I try to kind of ease the pressure. Another way that I try to do that is I try to be as flexible as I can be with accepting late work. We'll go over the late work policy when I review the syllabus. So in that video, you'll learn a little bit more about it, but you will come to learn that as long as you're communicating with me, I will try to work with you as much as possible in getting caught up and still getting credit for late work that you're submitting. And then the third way that I try to ease this process as much as possible for you is how I've laid out the online content. So again, everything in each weekly module, starting from the agenda and going down to the homework tab, that is the in-class material. And then the homework tab contains the out-of-class work you're expected to do. It's the same every week, So if you're looking here at the week 1 module, you click on week 1 module, and there is an overview on the screen. There's a handful of pictures, handful of images, and then a written explanation of what we're going to be covering during that module. The next item, this first sub-tab in the week 1 module, is the week 1 agenda. If you click on that, it is an outline of what we're covering in class in that module. So everything that's in that written explanation is just streamlined into outline form on the agenda. What you'll notice is every item on that agenda, though, matches up exactly with all of the sub-tabs in that module. So it's very uniform, and it's very standardized, and it's the same every week. Obviously, the material changes, but the setup is the same. So the next sub-tab in week 1 is the syllabus review. You click on that tab, and you see a couple images and a little explanation there that lets you know that there's 2 sub-tabs and what each sub-tab contains. The first sub-tab in this case is a video where I review the syllabus, and then the next sub-tab is an assignment, syllabus acknowledgement. So you basically just have to write a sentence and submit it. It's not a big assignment. And then the next sub-tab in this first module is daily journals. You click on that and there's a video and a written explanation. And then the next sub-tab is the pre-course assessment. It's in the quiz area, but it's not really a quiz. Remember, this is a composition course. So what I'm looking for here is where you're at right now at the beginning of the quarter in terms of your writing skills. So it's a written response. It's in the quiz area though, so that it can be timed. The next sub-tab in the week 1 module is the writing process, the rhetorical situation. You click on that, you'll see a little video and an explanation. That video is there to explain how to do the exercise, which is the first sub-tab in this section. So under the rhetorical situation, the first sub-tab is before exercise. And since this is the first, exercise that you're having to do for this class, I give you a video explanation of it beforehand so that you kind of have a better understanding of how to get started on it. And then there's a PowerPoint and then a video lesson that goes over the PowerPoint. The next sub-tab is the writing process getting started, PowerPoint and a video lesson going over the PowerPoint. And then you click on the week 1 homework assignments, and you'll see over on the screen that there's a written explanation there with a few helpful hints and reminders before you get started on homework. And then there's a video where I actually explain each of the homework assignments. So definitely take a look at those videos before you attempt each week's homework. They're anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes long. Obviously a little earlier in the quarter, they tend to be longer because I'm giving more detailed explanations of things, but as the quarter progresses and everyone gets the hang of it, the homework videos are much shorter. And then in that homework assignments tab, you'll see the 3 homework items listed: read chapter 2, week 1 assignment 1, and the week 1 discussion. So again, everything before that homework tab are things that we would cover in the classroom if this was an on-campus class. And then everything in that week 1 homework assignment section, reading chapter 2, week 1 assignment 1, and the week 1 discussion, those are the things that you would be sent home with after class to work on before coming back the following week. So if you can approach the material in that manner, it's going to be super helpful to you. I highly suggest going through the material before attempting the homework. In fact, every time you open up a homework assignment, it's going to tell you at the top that you need to read a certain chapter or look at a certain PowerPoint or read a certain handout, watch a certain video before attempting it. Do your best to figure out a way to go through the material first. If you missed a class on campus and then had to do the homework anyway without learning the material, it would be a struggle more than likely. So think of it in that way. If you missed class, you would want to get the information, the material that the instructor covered before you tried to do the homework that was assigned. Same thing here. Try to go through the material first before you do the homework. So I always tell students, based on how I kind of have the class set up in terms of the content, those 4 hours of in-class work that's contained in the weekly module, you don't have to sit down and go through all 4 hours all at once. This is an online class. You can go through the material at your convenience, right? A little bit here, a little bit there. In a perfect world, you would have a day towards the beginning of the week where you had a 4-hour chunk of time that you could go to class. And then you would just sit down with your computer and go through the material in that week's module. But it's not a perfect world. So try, though, to set aside at least chunks of time towards the beginning of the week to go through the content in that weekly module. Then set aside time later in the week or over the weekend to complete the homework assignments. That way, you're tackling the class the way it's supposed to be. Learning the material first, then attempting the homework assignments, right? And maybe at the beginning of each week, when each module opens, you take a look at the material that's being covered in the module, take a look at what the assignments are for that week, and then week by week, you can adjust when you're going to cover the material and when you're going to work on the assignments. Some weeks are a little easier than others. Some weeks you have more time available than others. So just try to manage your time accordingly, so that you can get through the material first and then attempt the homework assignments. It's really rough if you don't try to learn the material first, just like it would be for any other class. I will say that students who don't do so well in this course online aside from the obvious reasons like not turning in the essays or never turning in anything, but students who are, attempting to submit work throughout the quarter, the ones who still don't do very well despite that are the ones who aren't going through the material, aren't watching the homework video before attempting the actual assignments. They struggle. And I don't want students to struggle. I have all of this material here for you so that you are able to learn what you need to learn and do the best job possible on the homework assignments, so that then you can do the best job possible on the formally graded essays that are worth a huge portion of your overall grade. So manage the time wisely each week. Do your best to go through the module material first, watch the homework video first, and then attempt the homework assignments. If this is your first time taking an online course, you might still be a little confused about how to get to the quizzes, how to get to the assignments, how to get to the discussions, how to submit your assignments, how to post to the discussion forum. There are several things that you can do to get more information on those. Obviously, I'm available if you would like to send me an email or give me a call, and I can explain those things further and give you some tips. There's also the Learning Assistance Center. You can stop by there anytime. They are really good, especially in the first couple weeks of the quarter, of getting these online classes, giving you guys extra support in them. And then there's also, if you're not aware of this, there's also a course on Brightspace that offers small video tutorials on all of this information. And it's called the Learner Training Course. So when you log into Brightspace and all of your classes are listed, like where this one was listed, there should be one that says Learner Training Course. If there's not, let me know. But if you click on the Learner Training Course and go to the content for that course, you'll see that there's a section devoted to how to navigate the quizzes, a section on how to navigate the discussions, and a section on how to navigate the assignments. The videos are really short, less than 5 minutes, each one of them, I believe. But it literally gives you a visual walkthrough of how to do all of these things. It's a really useful resource for you. So that technical part, if you're having difficulty with that, there are several things you can do to get back on track and kind of get a better understanding of how to maneuver through the technical aspects. But this video, I wanted to concentrate on how the course was laid out and how it's best to approach the course from a student perspective. And I know everything that I have suggested, all of my advice is much easier said than done. But if you can at least shoot for these things, you stand a better chance of doing well in class. This is a class where if you're not learning the material, you're ultimately not going to do well on those formally graded essays, and they carry a good bit of weight. They're just like the final exams, the midterms and final exams in other classes. You will also start to fall behind, and this is not an easy class to climb out from under a lot of work for. So if you can try to stay on top of these things and approach the class with the weekly module material being your in-class work and the homework assignment tab containing your out-of-class work, then you stand a much better chance of getting through the course with less frustration, less anger, and more success, right? So if you have any questions while you're going through any of the weekly material, if any of this is still a little confusing for you, let me know. Otherwise, good luck to you all, and I look forward to working with you and seeing everything that you guys can accomplish this quarter.